Have you ever considered that some older parents, with the best of intentions, give away too much after retirement, only to find themselves burdened with profound regret? It often begins innocently enough, a desire to help an adult child find their footing, an outpouring of love and support, or simply doing what feels customary within a family. Yet, here lies the crucial, often overlooked truth. Once you enter retirement, your precious energy, hard-earned finances, and cherished independence are no longer as easily replenished as they once were. And the act of relinquishing certain aspects of your life, no matter how well-meaning the gesture, can subtly unravel the profound peace you've dedicated decades to earning. In this discussion, we will explore 7 vital aspects of your life that you should never fully surrender to your children after retirement. This isn't born of a lack of care or affection, but rather from the understanding that the potential cost to your health, your autonomy, and your future well-being is simply too high. Crucially, protecting these elements doesn't make you selfish. It makes you profoundly wise. Stay with me until the very end, for these 7 insights could be the defining difference between a retirement shadowed by quiet resentment and one illuminated by freedom, dignity, and enduring connection. If you've ever wrestled with where to draw the line between heartfelt support and self-sacrificing depletion, this message is specifically for you. Let's begin. One of the most insidious dangers you can quietly surrender after retirement is control over your financial decisions. Alarmingly, many older adults do precisely this, often without fully grasping the immense power they've relinquished. It might start with signing over authority to help a child manage bills, handle complex paperwork, or simply take care of things while you rest. However, what begins as a gesture of profound trust can subtly, yet irrevocably, transform into a fundamental shift in power. And once that control slips from your grasp, it becomes incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to reclaim. This isn't about fostering distrust. It is, fundamentally, about self-protection. Your financial decisions are intrinsically linked to your freedom, determining where you live, the quality of care you can choose, and even how you experience your final, precious years. Granting someone else complete control, even a beloved child, means handing them the steering wheel to your entire life. Regardless of how close your relationship may be, such an imbalance can quietly breed tension, overreach, or, in the most tragic cases, even financial exploitation. I recall the poignant story of Arthur, a spry 77-year-old who, weary of the complexities of online banking, granted his son Benjamin full access to his accounts. Initially, the arrangement functioned seamlessly, but as time wore on, Benjamin began making purchases without consulting his father. Small at first, then progressively larger. "I started to feel like a mere guest in my own financial life," Arthur confided, his voice tinged with hurt. When he finally mustered the courage to speak up, Benjamin's casual response, "I thought you didn't care," wounded Arthur even more deeply than the financial transgressions. The profound truth is, your money represents far more than mere numbers. It embodies your lifelong effort, your established boundaries, and your hard-won independence. You possess every inherent right to maintain control over it, even if you occasionally seek assistance. There's a crucial distinction between someone assisting you with a task and someone entirely usurping your decision-making authority. If you do require help, establish explicit limits. Use joint accounts sparingly, meticulously keep records, and ensure you comprehend precisely what is happening and why. And if anything feels amiss, speak up without hesitation. Your instincts, honed over a lifetime, are invaluable and deserve your utmost attention, because after all the years you've dedicated to earning, saving, and diligently managing your money, no one, not even your own child, should possess the right to dictate what you do with it. That fundamental decision remains unequivocally yours, and safeguarding it is one of the most potent ways to protect your future. Handing over your home or property to your child before it is truly necessary may appear to be an act of immense generosity, but it stands as one of the riskiest decisions an older adult can make. You might rationalize that they will inherit it someday anyway, or that it will simplify matters now. However, what often transpires is that you subtly, yet profoundly surrender the very essence of your safety, stability, and control over your life. Your home is far more than just a building. It is your anchor, your sanctuary. It is the place where you determine who enters, when you find rest, how you live each day, and when you choose to depart. The moment you legally transfer ownership, whether to circumvent future taxes, streamline inheritance, or provide immediate financial aid to your child, you simultaneously relinquish your fundamental rights. And depending on the specific laws of your region, reclaiming those rights could prove to be an insurmountable task. I once spoke with Beatrice, an elegant 81-year-old who, after retiring, transferred her beloved home to her son. At the time, he had convinced her that this act would safeguard the property from potential future medical costs. Yet, just 2 years later, he went through a contentious divorce, and her cherished home became entangled in a bitter legal battle from which she was powerless to extract it. "It didn't even feel like mine anymore," she lamented, her voice heavy with sorrow. "I just wanted peace, and I lost my peace, trying to do what I thought was the right thing." Even when family relationships are deeply loving and robust, circumstances are inherently unpredictable. Children can lose jobs, experience divorce, or accumulate unexpected debt. And if your home is legally in their name, their problems regrettably become yours, because your shelter, your accumulated equity, and your fundamental ability to make choices may no longer be protected. This isn't about mistrust. It is about foresight and prudent planning. Keep your name firmly on the deed. Consult with a qualified legal advisor who specializes in elder law. Explore options such as living trusts or carefully structured agreements that facilitate shared planning without requiring you to relinquish ownership. But never, under any circumstances, feel pressured to transfer your home simply because someone else suggests it's time. You dedicated your life to building that roof over your head, and keeping it under your name doesn't make you ungrateful or selfish. It makes you responsible for your safety, your future, and the independence you have so rightfully earned. After retirement, your time transforms into one of your most invaluable resources. Yet many older parents find themselves generously, often limitlessly, giving it away. They offer rides, run countless errands, provide regular childcare, or remain perpetually on call for their adult children. What begins as an expression of love and support gradually, almost imperceptibly, morphs into an overwhelming obligation. Before long, your days no longer feel like your own. There is absolutely nothing wrong with offering help. The core issue arises when that help becomes an expectation rather than an appreciation, when your availability is simply assumed, and when your much-needed rest and personal rhythm are consistently disrupted because saying no feels like an act of betrayal. That is precisely when the delicate balance shifts and quiet resentment begins to take root. I recall the story of Clara, a vibrant 76-year-old who adored her daughter and eagerly wanted to assist with her grandchildren. However, as the months unfolded, she found herself picking them up from school 4 days a week, routinely missing her cherished book club, skipping her own crucial doctor's appointments, and collapsing into sleep before dinner out of sheer exhaustion. "I retired to enjoy my life," she sighed, "not to relieve the same demanding schedule I had at 40. Your energy after 70 is fundamentally different. It demands protection. You deserve rest, personal space, and ample time to engage in activities that genuinely nourish your spirit, all without the burden of guilt. While your children may genuinely require assistance, that doesn't mean your time is an inexhaustible well. Clear boundaries are not a rejection of family, they are an essential act of self-respect. It is perfectly acceptable to say, "I can help on Tuesdays, but I need the rest of the week for myself. It is acceptable to reschedule. It is acceptable to safeguard your peaceful mornings, your quiet afternoons, or your cherished weekend plans. You are not selfish for guarding your time. You are wise for recognizing that you possess just as much right to it as anyone else. Because the undeniable truth is, when you constantly give your energy away, there is progressively less left for the very things that bring you joy, peace, and profound purpose. And retirement isn't solely about fulfilling the needs of others. It's about finally possessing the freedom to honor your own. One of the most challenging patterns for any parent to break is the ingrained instinct to solve their children's emotional problems, even long after they've reached adulthood. You've spent a lifetime serving as their anchor, their confidant, their comforting shoulder to cry on. However, in retirement, constantly absorbing their stress, their fears, or their disappointments can quietly, yet profoundly, wear you down. As you age, your emotional reserves become increasingly precious. And when your adult children bring you every crisis, relationship troubles, workplace drama, financial panics, you may find yourself shouldering a weight that is no longer yours to bear. It's not that you don't care. It's that your nervous system was simply not designed to function as a 24/7 therapist. I once met David, a kind 78-year-old whose son called almost daily to vent about his struggling business. David listened intently, offered advice, and even lent money. But over time, he began to lose sleep, felt perpetually helpless, and walked around with a constant knot in his chest. I started feeling like I was the one drowning, he confessed, and I wasn't even in the water. This is precisely what can happen when you become your child's emotional emergency room. You absorb every alarm, every fear, every frustration, without having a healthy outlet for your own. And the more you take in, the more emotionally depleted you become. You are absolutely permitted to listen without feeling obligated to solve. You are allowed to say, "That sounds incredibly difficult. I truly hope you find a way through it." You are allowed to gently suggest professional therapy, support groups, or other resources that do not demand your constant emotional labor. Because in this precious season of life, your peace is not a luxury. It is your essential medicine. And protecting it doesn't mean closing your heart. It means keeping your heart whole so you can continue to offer love without losing yourself in the process. Many older adults lovingly and willingly step into the role of caretaker for their grandchildren. However, taking on full or nearly full responsibility for raising them, particularly during your retirement years, can very quickly become more than your body, mind, or finances were ever intended to carry. What often begins as simply helping out subtly evolves into an unspoken expectation, and suddenly your retirement is no longer your own. Caring for young children is physically demanding. It impacts your sleep, your diet, your stress levels, and your ability to attend your own medical appointments or tend to your personal needs. Emotionally, it can feel like being pulled back into a life stage you've already navigated, when what you truly need now is rest, stability, and time for personal reflection and enjoyment. I remember Evelyn, a spry 73-year-old, who agreed to watch her toddler grandson just for the summer. But those months stretched into years, and she found herself once again packing lunches, managing tantrums, and walking the floor at night when he had a cold. "I love him with all my heart," she said, her voice heavy with weariness, "but I'm tired. I didn't realize how much of myself I would lose." The guilt is undeniably real, the love is undeniably real, but so too is the profound cost. Raising children is a full-time commitment, and unless you have genuinely planned for it and freely chosen it, it can quietly erase your space to grieve, to travel, to rest, or even simply to think your own thoughts. If your child is in a situation where they truly need support, explore other solutions first. Can help be shared among other family members? Can outside childcare be involved even on a part-time basis? Can you offer specific hours or days rather than being on call indefinitely? Boundaries are not a rejection, they are a form of clarity. You have dedicated decades to caring for others, and while grandchildren bring immense joy, you are not obligated to start all over again in your 70 and 80s. It is perfectly acceptable to say, I will love them, guide them, and support them where I can, but I cannot raise them. That truth may be difficult to utter, but it may also be the healthiest decision for everyone involved. One of the most generous and simultaneously most perilous actions you can take after retirement is to grant your child access to the money you've spent your entire life diligently building. Whether it's dipping into your retirement savings to pay off their debt, covering their mortgage just for a while, or handing over cash during one of their emergencies, the underlying effect remains the same. You incrementally chip away at the very financial foundation designed to protect you. It is entirely natural to want to help. It feels like an expression of love, an act of profound support. But here's the uncomfortable truth no one talks about. Once that money leaves your account, it rarely, if ever, returns. And if your health unexpectedly declines, your expenses dramatically rise, or some unforeseen event occurs, the financial cushion you believed would be there may simply be gone. That's not just risky, it's genuinely dangerous. I once spoke with Frederick, an 80-year-old who had loaned his son nearly $30,000, 0 cents, over 5 years. It wasn't a single large sum, but rather a series of smaller amounts here and there, first for car repairs, then credit card bills, then a new business idea. I thought I was helping, Frederick recounted, his voice filled with a quiet despair. But I was actually emptying the very tank I was supposed to retire on. And it's not just the money itself. It's the profound emotional toll of constantly wondering whether you'll have enough for your own future. It's the silent anxiety that creeps in every time you visit the pharmacy, the doctor, or open an unexpected bill. That stress alone can severely impact your sleep, your mood, and your overall quality of life. You are not a bad parent for saying, I need to protect my savings. You are not selfish for drawing a firm line between genuine generosity and your own financial survival. Your children, with time and effort, can rebuild their finances. You, however, may not have the same window of time or the same level of health to rebuild yours. If you genuinely wish to help, establish a clear limit and adhere to it rigorously. Offer guidance and support before offering money. Encourage them to explore alternative solutions like loans, payment plans, or other support systems available to them. And always remember, preserving your financial independence isn't just for your benefit. It also ensures that you won't have to rely on your children later in life, a prospect many of them quietly fear just as much as you do. After retirement, your personal needs, daily routines, and life priorities naturally shift, and you absolutely deserve the freedom to make choices that authentically reflect who you are now, not who others might believe you should be. Yet, one of the most subtle ways older adults relinquish control is by allowing their adult children to gradually begin making decisions for them, instead of with them. This rarely happens overnight. It often commences with seemingly small, well-intentioned suggestions. Why don't you move closer to us? You really shouldn't drive anymore. It's time to downsize. And while some of these ideas may indeed be offered with genuine love and concern, when repeated without truly listening to your needs and desires, they begin to feel less like caring advice and more like direct commands. I once knew Grace, a spirited 79-year-old, who, at her daughter's urging, moved out of her beloved home to live near her daughter's family across the country. On paper, it seemed logical. More help, closer to her grandchildren, a simpler living arrangement. But within 6 months, Grace felt like a stranger in her own life. It wasn't my town, my church, my doctor, or my friends, she recounted, her voice tinged with regret. I thought I was choosing connection, but I lost my place. Your life does not have to conform to someone else's vision in order to be valid or fulfilling. You are still the undisputed author of your own story. And simply because your children hold opinions or even express worries does not grant them the right to dictate where or how you live, what you do with your precious time, or how you shape your final, invaluable decades. This isn't to suggest that you should ignore their input entirely. It is wise to consider feedback, especially concerning matters of safety or necessary support. However, fundamental decisions such as where to reside, the type of care you desire, or the degree of independence you wish to maintain should ultimately be a reflection of your values and your preferences. Retirement is not the cessation of your authority. It is a profound opportunity to reclaim it, to thoughtfully plan your future while standing firmly and confidently in the present. Because once you allow someone else to steer your ship, it becomes progressively harder to turn it back around. Protect your inherent right to decide. Speak clearly, document your wishes, ask pertinent questions, and never be afraid to assert, "I appreciate your concern, but I know what is right for me." That single sentence can safeguard not only your autonomy, but also your profound dignity. Final thoughts. Retirement is a sacred chapter of life, hard-earned, deeply personal, and unequivocally meant to be lived on your own terms. Yet, far too often, in the name of love or misplaced loyalty, older adults inadvertently relinquish the very things that protect their peace, their money, their time, their homes, their boundaries, and their fundamental right to self-determination. The cost of such unchecked generosity isn't merely financial. It is profoundly emotional, mentally taxing, and deeply personal. If today's discussion brought anything into sharper focus, let it be this undeniable truth. You are allowed to love your children without sacrificing yourself entirely. You are allowed to establish healthy boundaries without succumbing to guilt. And you are absolutely allowed to protect what you have diligently built, not out of fear, but out of profound wisdom. The 7 areas we've discussed are not about severing support. They are about offering support in ways that do not erode your own foundation. They are about choosing a version of retirement where your needs are not relegated to the bottom of the list, where your voice still carries weight, and where your final decades are guided not by obligation, but by clarity, courage, and self-care. So, take a moment now to reflect. Which of these 7 areas feels most relevant to your life at this very moment? Which one did you realize you might have already been giving away? And which one do you feel truly ready to protect starting today? Thank you for joining us. We would be honored to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one insight you gained today and how you plan to apply it in your life. Your thoughts are incredibly important to us, so please don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments provides us with immense motivation and encouragement. If you found this video helpful and enjoyable, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support enables us to continue creating valuable content to inform and inspire you. Thank you for watching, and we eagerly anticipate seeing you in the next video.